Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's episode was recorded on September the 13th, 2022. I'm your host, gaming psychologist, and with me, as always, after we sacrificed one of the cult,
Caffeine Rage.
On today's show, we will of course be discussing some games that we played. Matt Booty dreams of AI QA testers. Overwatch fans revolt over Blizzard's plan to lock heroes behind Battle Pass. And from the community, we've got a couple of articles. Another NFT game goes bankrupt, and Diablo Immortal whales face orb debt. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello, Rach.
Hello.
We're back.
For now.
This week. Yep, last week we were about to record, and my internet started coming and going. There was a huge storm that blew through Tuesday night. Tuesday afternoon, evening, really. It's probably about 7 o'clock that the storm blew through. It was done by 8 o'clock. At first, I was like, oh, there's a storm blowing through. I almost texted you. I was like, oh, there's a storm blowing through. Want to take bets? But I didn't, because, you know. And then everything was fine, and then the internet went out. And then it came back, and then it went out, and then it came back. And that was the story of my life from Tuesday night through Saturday morning.
Definitely didn't upset the cultists, right?
No, there were definitely no riots. No riots were violently put down by myself. But it all seems fixed again. There was some damage at the road, and once they fixed that, everything was back to normal. So that's where I'm at. And then we just recorded like an hour worth of Franken content. A lot of stories that I told from the last couple of weeks. It's been a crazy couple of weeks at the Looney Bin. You guys will get to hear all about those. Hopefully in a lot more than just a week. I would like to get back to recording every week. We're going to sacrifice another member of the cult next week to continue to please the tech gods.
Oh, here I thought it was my turn. Because there's this religious fruitcake that runs around on a wheelchair. I'm sure the town won't miss Holy Roller.
Sure. We can sacrifice Holy Roller. I like that.
Hey, I'm crippled. I'm allowed to make crippled jokes.
I didn't say you couldn't.
Yeah, but I could hear somebody out there being offended.
Right. Fuck you. Especially if you call me daddy.
And I'm allowed to make religious jokes because I don't give a shit.
Right? Fuck them. They're the reason we're in this mess anyways.
Pretty much. So, shall we get some nostalgia going?
Sure.
So, games we played. I have two, you have two, and I guess we'll trade off.
Sure. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first since I led into it. So, last Call BBS. The last Zachtronics game, or the last original Zachtronics game, they are releasing or have released, I'm not sure which, their Solitaire compilation, because it's kind of been a running thing for them to have some sort of version of Solitaire in their games for the last several.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so looks like the Solitaire bundle is ongoing. Anyway. So Zachtronics has decided to shut down, mostly due to just they got tired of making the same old thing, right?
Right.
And I can't blame them. You know, their games are very good at making me feel dumb. And I can't imagine just the genius levels of, fuckery that has to go on to create them. And Zachtronics games has the kind of this overarching thing of being very difficult, very detail-oriented, and taxing to beat. So I can, like I said, could only imagine what goes into making them. So they decided to call it quits with their swan song of Last Call BBS, which is a simulator of the early days of the internet, the bulletin board system, BBS.
Yeah.
And it simulates getting in like a computer in the like early 90s, dialing up to a BBS and downloading illegal cracked software down to the whereas crack splash screens whenever you start up a game. Remember those from the 90s and 2000s?
Yeah, I do.
They have those in this.
Oh, cool.
And they also simulate download speeds of the telephone, because even though a game is only a few kilobytes in the simulator, it still takes it like 10 minutes to download. So you're just sitting there playing the latest version of Solitaire on your computer while it downloads, right?
Yeah.
And there's 8 or 9 different games total that you can download to your computer to play from this BBS, as well as the option to create custom servers to build games in the simulator itself. There's a few people that I've seen showing off like maze games and that sort of thing, using like the modem tools to build an actual game in the dial-up system.
Mm-hmm.
The game, the mini game, and I don't want to call them mini games because they're really not. That I've spent the most time with is called 20th Century Food Court, which is a sci-fi game where you're building a food court in the far future to emulate food that was served today.
Okay.
With like, it's like a mini Factorio, only mixed with a an audio mixer. So like every piece of machinery on the factory floor is generates this like piece of equipment on a rack, and you're taking signals from one thing to another with the jumpers, the audio cable jumpers.
Yeah.
And transferring the signals around, and it sounds complex, and it's even more so. You're taking like trying to remember what the first level is. Let's make up one. Like it has, you're serving a hot dog. While the system starts, it produces the signal for start in whatever order. Let's say a hot dog with mustard and ketchup. And it goes down the conveyor belt. It triggers a scanner that sees what the order is. It causes a program to fire in a sequencer that causes mustard to get to fire, to ketchup to get fired, to relish or whatever's on the order. Gets put on a tray and spit out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just absolutely fascinating. And the fact that this could easily have been a full game with a few more levels. It has like 20 or 30. So, easily enough for a full game, but, not by Zachtronics standards, I should say. There's sort of a reverse pit cross where you're building dungeon maps based on a few rules, like monsters have to be at the end of a hallway, treasure has to have a room around it, that sort of thing, along with pit cross-esque clues around the sides. There's some sort of like I'm not sure what to make of block the forbidden path. I'd not figure that one out at all. There's the solitaire game, of course. There's a chip builder that uses a CAD program to have a puzzle game in, where you're building microprocessors for certain features. There's the mini game from Exapunks, You played Exapunks, right?
No.
I thought you did. That's why I brought it up.
Let me look. Exopunks or Exapunks.
Exapunks. It's where you get shrunk down, and it's like a tactics game.
No, I have not played this.
Okay, I thought you did. Maybe you played something similar to it that I was thinking of.
Possibly.
It's a tile matching game that uh, is lifted from that. A Japanese solitaire. There's a model builder where you're building like totally not Gundams, and kind of a also mini documentary and look back the history of Zachtronics, along with looking back at the old days of before the internet really became mainstream. It's a little bittersweet, honestly, but absolutely a blast to play. I'm not sure about going all in on the $20, but I was playing it through Game Pass.
Yeah,
and especially if you have a fond memory of like early to mid 90s. I would say DOS era, early Windows era gaming. This is definitely pick it up and relive some memories.
right. It looks neat.
Yeah,
I have heard of this. I just haven't played it.
Yeah, there's a lot here, and there's a lot of not fully fleshed out games, but enough to enjoy it in the anthology.
Yeah.
On the Steam store, the second screenshot is the game that I've been playing most out of this, the 20th Century Food Court. And you'll see what I mean by shit gets complex quickly.
Yeah. All right. My turn?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. So let's hit a different kind of nostalgia. A game that I played, because I had been meaning to play this, and I downloaded it a couple of weeks ago. I was like, I'm going to play this. And then when the internet fucked up, I was like, well, now's a good time to play it, I suppose. Frontlines Fuel of War. Frontlines is a game that released in 2008, originally on Xbox 360. It later came to PC. I don't know if it came to PlayStation. Excuse me. It's interesting. First of all, let me read you the back of the case synopsis. All right, tell me if this sounds familiar. By 2024, and that was the far-flung future of when this game was created. By 2024, a global energy crisis and worldwide avian influenza outbreak plague the world. As supplies of oil and natural gas wane, and alternative energy like solar power, biofuels, and nuclear energy is still inefficient to replace oil completely, diplomatic relationships between the East and West are strained, beginning to break down. This causes two new alliances to be formed: the Western Coalition, the modern evolution of NATO, and the Red Star Alliance. Now, this is one of those weird times where that just like spitballing weird ideas is like, oh my god, did they predict some of the future?
Although, avian influenza, right?
Yeah, that was of the era. Bird flu. Everybody, if you remember that, pour one out for bird flu and swine flu. But anyways, it's interesting.
Yeah, at least we have monkeypox now.
Right, we had the COVIDs, and now we have monkeypox. But some of the really big themes, it does feel eerie and weird. But for the most part, this plays out in the way that all action movies and whatnot tend to take those scenarios. Instead of what we have got in the real world, which is, people bitching about needing to wear masks and, economic sanctions leading to economic collapse of Russia. We have like, oh, they're going to nuke each other and we're going to fight across Eastern Europe and Asia. The gameplay is very solid for a game from this era. There are things missing from that, that you expect in modern day games, But that's just sort of the nature of the evolution of the format and formula. But this game pioneers a lot of concepts that became staples of the later Battlefield games that everyone knows and loves. And on top of that, it has a superior single-player campaign to pretty much any Battlefield game except maybe Bad Company. And Battlefield Bad Company sells that partially on the gameplay, but also on the story and the personalities. The story here is pretty bog standard. For a shooter, you're the leader of a special forces NATO coalition group that's been fighting the Reds for a long time to secure those resources, and you get sent to dangerous hotspot areas and to the tip of the spear on offenses across the 10 or 12 campaign missions. But the missions themselves are really, really good. The game says open world first person shooter, which is kind of a stretch of the truth. As the game progresses, the battle maps do get larger and larger, and your toy box what you have in your toy box grows in terms of equipment, vehicles, etc. But basically what they mean by open world is that you have maps that have multiple objectives that you have to decide what order you're going to tackle them in. And they start out small, like capture these 3 bridges to win. And then by the end of the game, it's like assault this facility. You have to take it out. And the farther forward you push into the compound, the more objectives pop up that you have to complete. And once you complete enough objectives, or sort of all of the objectives in the area, the battle map moves forward. Like you can see in the screenshots, like there's all these little gadgets or whatever that's showing like a blue and a red line. And it's like, that's your battle line. And you complete the objectives and you move that forward. And the enemy has infinite spawning soldiers on both sides. And it's up to you to be able to, you have a certain number of respawns, that you can use. And you have to complete each of the missions within that respawn limit. And essentially your troops, like if they die, it's got sort of a Battlefront-esque, like, all right, let me round you guys back up and let's try again. Or let me, round up some vehicles and we'll try some vehicles. So toy box, you have standard first-person shooter stuff, snipers, machine guns, rockets, etc. Then you've got various types of drones that you can use. There's like little tank drones. There's UAVs that do various things, scouting, bombs, rockets, machine guns, etc. You've got troop transports, trucks, Humvees, that kind of stuff. You got tanks, you've got helicopters, and then later on you've got jets. And then there's a few special toys you get in the campaign that's, laser target designators for cruise missiles or space-launched ordnance, that kind of stuff. Those are pretty neat, but they're sort of situational set-piece items. The bulk of what you're going to be playing with are guns, drones, and tanks. Or, I guess, armored fighting vehicles. It originally had, and I remember playing this back in the day, was one of the first big 64 versus 64 multiplayer battle arena style games. Battlefield and Battlefront later sort of made this their thing for their big game modes. But this is one of the first games that I remember pulling it off well. And I remember the multiplayer was essentially, the 2 teams fighting over points, and you could win if you exhausted all of the other team's respawns, or if you pushed and captured the objectives and essentially took over the map. It's solid. It's right now, it's not on sale. It's $20. It is not worth $20. The story is fine. The gameplay mechanics are good, but they're not worth $20 at this point in the game. Maybe 10 years ago, I could have said yeah, $20 for this game that's, 4 or 5 years old, go for it. But now, pick it up on sale for, a couple of bucks. Looks like its historic low is $2 at Fanatical. I don't know what that is, but this says historic low, $2 at Fanatical.
I know that site. It's legit.
Okay. So, it's been on sale
Another
for
bundle site.
okay. Looks like it's been on sale for as low as $4 on Steam in the past. I think it's worth $4 or $5. If you want to play a shooter from the mid 2000s that is pretty easy to run on modern hardware, relatively modern hardware. I didn't have any issues with it running on Windows 10. That's one of those things that I feel like at this, age of game, your mileage may vary, but I didn't have any problems running it. Got a solid, smooth, 60 plus at max graphical settings, no issues. So if you're in the neighborhood and you want to check it out, you can find it for a couple bucks. It's worth that. I spent, I don't know, 8-10 hours on it. And I got through the game. Maybe, you might get 12 hours out of it if you're playing on a higher difficulty or if you're trying to get all of the collectibles. It does feature collectibles on the map to give you like more information about the story and the world and stuff. I pretty much ignored those. I didn't care. But if you care and you want to find them, you probably get 12 hours out of it. So yeah, Frontline Fuels of War. Strangely, 2 thumbs up.
And uncanny, I guess I should say, right?
Yeah, uncanny as well.
So, my last one is a racing game.
Woo!
Grid Legends, the latest in the Grid series, through, once again, Game Pass, this time through their partnership with EA Play, which will be about the only way I play an EA game these days, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
I already have it, right? So, this is basically one of the early grids, only with kind of a cringy storyline tacked onto it. So, I got... let's get into the story first, then we'll get into gameplay. So, you play as Driver 22, and because they did full motion video on this, compressed to the ever-living fucking max. Some of the backgrounds in the interviews, the story is presented as a documentary about this up-and-coming team that you happen to get recruited into, all right? It's not even your team, all right? It's
okay.
You're recruited into it as a driver. You don't own it. Some of the backgrounds are... Well, let's just put it this way. The compression is so bad that it's just color banding all over the place, which is not a good look. And it makes it so that I can't tell if the background is, in some places, CGI, or, put in post, or it's just the compression artifacting is making it look, uncanny,
Yeah.
If they're trying to push a story and trying to make me feel like I'm, actually Driver 22, which they go out of their way to not use any gendered pronouns, which, fine, I get it. This is full motion video. They don't want to do two versions with he and she, right?
Yeah.
But they don't even go, they just do like a gender neutral they, and they never give the character a name. It's always referred to by their race or number. And it's just weird. Very, very weird.
Yeah.
And the game defaults to an absolutely brain dead default difficulty setting. To the point that I'm pretty sure your kid could win the races on the default settings.
That's saying something. He's a real bad driver.
I mean, it's put on almost the lowest setting possible. And this is one thing I do like, is that if you go into the difficulty screen, settings screen, which, you're not going to be able to until after the first race, because it's one of those that you don't even get a main menu or anything. It just drops you right into the middle of the action. Which, I get it, it's exciting, but I would like a chance to, actually look at the settings. Maybe tweak a few things,
Yeah.
take a look and see what the difficulty is set to, right?
Right.
They have, of course, AI driver difficulty, but then you could go in and tweak the amount of ABS, steering stability, traction control, all independent of the actual difficulty setting. Change manual, automatic transmission. I mean, there's just a ton of options to go into on difficulty. You could change damage to just cosmetic or to full-on damage. Although I'm unsure if that actually does anything, because I tested it. I drove into a wall straight on at 150 miles per hour, going full Dale Earnhardt. And yes, I went that dark. And it just barely did any damage to my car. I'm not sure if there's like some sort of damage gating going on, because I'm not at at the absolute max level. I'm playing on hard or very hard. Like, I'm right in the middle of the 5 difficulty settings.
Yeah.
Trying to get through the story, which looking at some of the reviews, I think I'm actually going to back off on until there's a patch, because it looks like there's a bug where you had a show-stopping bug where it won't allow you to progress anymore. Ugh, right? And these are recent reviews.
Yeah.
But that's beside the point. But yeah, that's a damper on things. But because the game is set to such a low difficulty setting at the start, it makes it sound so disingenuous whenever they talk about how this amazing driver comes out of nowhere. No, you all just suck. Right?
You're all just terrible.
Like, in one of the cutscenes, whenever you first join the team, they show other their test drivers testing out all the cars, because, of course, this is a grid game, so they have to have all the car disciplines. Jack of all trades, master of none. There's like half a dozen-ish cars for each one of like 10 or so different disciplines. Which sounds like a lot on the surface, but you don't get a lot of choice, right?
Yeah.
But they show one of their drivers driving a Formula style car, Formula One style car, but not lower end. I'm sure that there's a proper term for it, but I don't care. Show them. What?
But I'm sure there's a term for it, but I don't care. Okay, yeah. Fuck 'em.
But see them. I'm trying to remember which one this is. I think this is the one that they broke the turn, or underbrake the turn. So instead of making the a right hand turn, they just shoot off into the wall. Then they show like a rally truck, because for some reason on pavement racing they have arena trucks, right?
Yeah.
And they just put some ramps out that honestly I just avoid and get better speed on, because right.
Yeah.
They just show this truck just driving along, and then all of a sudden it's starting to flip. It looks like Mr. Bean is driving it.
To be clear, that thing that you're talking about, that sport, the road trucks that they put, that's really fun to watch. I can't think of what it's called. I've only seen a couple of races, but it's so cool to watch, like in real life.
Yeah, but it's it feels like it's it's better now just avoid the ramps and drive, right?
Yeah.
They do have their version of like Formula E on here as well, which is interesting. But there's a bunch of different disciplines that you go through, and each car essentially has levels that you gain to unlock upgrades, and the grind is real with this one, right?
Yeah.
Because you can go through the story mode, or you could just go in and race for your own team. But yeah, they heavily emphasize, go find out how you became the driver you did, or the driver you became, right? And it's they have this little Japanese fiery co-driver on this team, and she's talking all shit to you this entire time, which is glorious. But she's talking about how you shouldn't you better not get in my way in this next race. Never mind the fact that the previous race, she crashed out, and I was like 20 places ahead of her. Right?
Right.
And there are some scripted things in the races whenever you're in story mode, like the crash out. I'm pretty certain was a scripted thing, but there's been other times that, I would be several places ahead of her, and she's talking about how I better stay out of her way and stay. Obviously, not expecting you to be ahead of her, right?
Yeah.
And this is, me slowly cranking up the difficulty, trying to find a spot where, I'm not just blowing everybody out of the water as well. And I don't claim to be some amazing racing driver or racing game player. I just know how to hold a racing line, somewhat decently. It just feels like the difficulty is just really wacky. I never did get to the drifting portion of the game, and there's some people saying that the drifting feels really weird, and like there's a special kind of mode for that, or driving mode.
Yeah.
Physics-wise, outside of the fact that it feels like the damage does absolutely nothing until the wheels literally fall off your car. Fine. I mean, it doesn't piss me off instantly like Dirt 5 did. It feels like, well, I would say a mid-range grid game. Arcadey with enough options to change the car settings and to get a feel for how you want to drive it. I mean, not groundbreaking, but also not terrible. You can actually spin out. Whether it does actually feel like it has an effect on your car other than, making it wet like dirt did.
Yeah.
It feels like a racing game. I know that sounds like a backhanded compliment, but I fucking hated Dirt because it didn't feel like a racing game. It felt like, I was playing Mario Kart Tour, and I'm just sitting there holding the accelerator.
Let's go.
Ooh, this one review. Like I said, I was looking at the reviews and saw somebody bring up the menu system is also really confusing because it's constantly going using the shoulder buttons to change to go between the pages in the main menu. Then you have to switch through the D-pad, but then there's some menus that they reverse those because, of course, right?
Yeah, why not? Why do things have to stay consistent and make sense?
Yeah, and they're really pushing online racing, which honestly, I don't like online racing because people are jerks. If I wanted to be battered around online racing, I'd still be playing Forza Horizon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think my biggest complaint is just the fact that, well, one, you have to get the season pass in order to get all the story because, of course, right?
Yep.
And two, the story just isn't good, and they push that as the major single player content outside of just doing random racing, and there's just this always kind of hokiness to it. And it's not like a good cheese like the early Need for Speed games,
Yeah.
where it's so over the top. Its biggest sin, it's wacky but boring.
Being boring is a big sin.
And yes, you can skip the story cutscenes, but they're not. Yeah, you have to wait for them to load, then you have to wait for them to unload, and then load in the racing game, right?
Yeah.
Like one cutscene, the the owner of the team has this potted plant that he's bringing into the office for whatever reason. And, and it looks as fake as the office itself. You know, not as in it's CGI, as in this is obviously a set dressed as an office, and it just okay. Here's what it is. It just kind of struck me. The acting in this game feels like the porn parody of this game.
Nice. I like that.
But you know what I mean? Yeah, very stiff, very over the top, but not in a fun way. Like you beat the grid champion, and, he has kind of this cocky attitude because he's the 4-time, soon to be 5-time. That's a record champion. But it's very obvious that he's reading the cue cards, or just reading the script and just it's not the person,
Yeah.
So if you were to play this, I would say, unless you're into really boring documentaries about a sports team, that why would they be making a documentary about this sports team anyway, right?
I mean, they did that for Formula One on Netflix, and then Formula One got really popular in places that weren't Europe.
Yeah, but this was literally a team that was about to be shut down.
Yeah.
This isn't like following a team that is a contender. This is a team that had been basically on the verge of shutting down until number 22 shows up, right? And his not low difficulty driving. Oh, if you could get past the story, it's an okay racing game. Is it amazing? Hell no. I would say if you wanted a better racing game of this discipline, go back to an earlier grid game, because it feels like there would be more meat on the bones, or more in depth racing for the disciplines that's available. I mean, you wouldn't have stuff like the Formula E knockoff.
Yeah.
And they have a Formula E knockoff, and they have electric cars as well as a separate discipline, which handles very differently, obviously, from internal combustion. However, you only have a few of them, right?
Yeah. And
the tuning options are all the same for the electric cars as they are for the for the standard cars. So you can change the the gearing on the electric cars, right?
Right. That doesn't work very well. I mean, some electric cars do have a couple of gears, but most of them don't. They either have one direct drive gear, or they have a what is it? A CVS, a constant variance transmission, or no? I guess that'd be CVT, constant variant transmission. Yeah. Anyways, that's more technical than this game wants to be, I think.
Yeah. I mean, this is obviously an arcadey game and meant to just go in and shut off your brain.
Right.
I did go through all the modes, so there may be more interesting ones later on. I mean, it does look like there's truck racing, as in semi-truck racing. That could be interesting. But also, it looks like it's against pickup trucks, for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Not the worst racing game I played. That still goes to Dirt 5 for the time being. But yeah, worth checking out, especially if you have Game Pass. You don't mind jumping through the hoops to get EA Play to work.
Yeah.
Because, of course, you're launching a launcher to launch a launcher, right?
Yep. Which might, in turn, launch another launcher. You never know.
Oh, and one thing is that They do have some of the bullshit DLC. So, uh, you have the season pass, like I said. But the big thing is that you have the mechanic pass, which is the grind skip. So, your personal team that I'm assuming at the end of the story, you and the team goes their separate ways, and you form your own team. But the single player content outside story mode is your team, and you have a co-driver that you level up by getting currency. And yes, that's what they call it. They call it currency. They had a big brain moment to decide, let's call the currency, right?
Hard to be mad at it when it's just currency.
And you have a mechanic that unlocks your standard yet boring upgrades, percentage-based upgrades. And the mechanic pass cuts the requirements to get upgrades to get them faster. It cuts the distance required to upgrade to level up a car to get the next level upgrades for it, which is scummy.
Yeah.
In the season 2, it actually looks like a lot more fun of a story mode. It's Demolition Derby, but with their damage modeling, right?
Yeah.
Makes me want to go pick up Breakfast again. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on Grid. Some very negative things, and some it's okay, I guess.
All right. Well, the other one that I played this week, I've talked about before, but it's been a while, year and a half maybe. Mech HQ, or Mega Mech, is a full conversion of the tabletop rule set of BattleTech into a computer game played on the computer. There's three parts to it, and if you download Mech HQ, you get all 3 parts. This is all free. This is all community run. Some of these people have Patreons and stuff where you can go support them. A lot of hours have been put into the development of this over the last couple of years. What it is basically is that there's Mega Mech, which just lets you create tabletop scenarios. There's a bunch of maps. You can procedurally generate a map, or you can use the built-in map making tool to make your own maps. Drop in your mechs, your tanks, your soldiers. You want to do space battles? They've got spaceships, aerospace fighters, the whole nine. You can play, you can play locally, and you can just, hot seat, pass it off to player next to you, and take turns that way. You can play against the bot. The AI is okay. You can adjust the difficulty slider up and down so that they make more or less stupid decisions in terms of how to use their mechs. But, things like running too hot to trigger ammo explosions or whatever, tactically retreating instead of fighting till the last man, whatever. But they are definitely will never play as well as another human. This AI is not there yet. Or you can play online. You can host a server, or someone else can host a server, and you guys can play on that. Then there's the Mech Designer, which lets you, within the custom rule set, modify or create new vehicles, mechs, tanks, planes, whatever. With it, anything that's allowed to be constructed within the rule set, you can make it or modify it. And then there's Mech HQ, which kind of brings everything together. And Mech HQ lets you run long-form campaigns based on the strategic ops rule set for the game. So you can make a mercenary company, or you can fight for any of the great houses, or fight with them, whatever. And you can build companies. And there's a bunch of rules for creating stuff if you want to go with one of the in-game units that already exists, either for any of the main the great houses or for any existing mercenary companies, or you can just make your own. And depending on what you choose, determine some things like starting years and tech levels and stuff like that. But I like to make my own mercenary company and run it that way and just pick a start year and go until either I go bankrupt or I get so powerful that it's not fun anymore. And I talked about this, like I said, a year and a half ago, much more in depth. Anyone who really wants to get into the nitty gritty, feel free to message me on Discord or whatever. I'm not going to go super more in depth on that at this point. The things that I want to talk about are which version I'm playing. So the latest stable version is the one that I talked about last time. It's been their stable build for about a year and a half now, build 48.0. The current dev build, which just dropped yesterday of day of recording, it dropped yesterday, is 49.10. I play every even numbered beta build. Because the odd number, they will introduce new stuff, and then the even number will be to fix the bugs or whatever they broke with the new stuff they introduced. And so I'm currently playing 49.8. And essentially, each update adds refinements to the AI, new units, even though there's something like, I think, 1,000 different unique units in the game from, mechs, tanks, infantry squads, aerospace fighters, etc. There are still more that have been created over the 40 something years of Battletech's history. And there are new ones being made all the time. So, they add more units to the game, more technology, and flush out the rule sets. Because a lot of stuff in the game will say, not implemented at this time, added for completeness or something. There's a lot of quirks that give little bonuses or detriments to your soldiers or your vehicles that are, ticked off whenever you buy something, like they're checked off, or it'll say like has, whatever quirk. But then when you go look at it, it'll say not implemented at this time. So they're adding those things as they go. And then making more and more improvements to the interface and causing the game to be less buggy and less prone to crashing when you play it for long periods of time. It uses Java, and I don't know a lot about Java development, but whatever version of the game or whatever version of Java that 48 is running on, it's an older version, has got a well-documented problem that for most applications doesn't matter, but you might be sitting playing this game for hours at a time if you're like me. And it's eventually
Weirdo.
it's got a memory leak, and eventually it will just crash, causing you to lose save data if you're not saving regularly or auto-saving regularly. And so they're working on getting into a more modern version of Java. But this Megamech was first developed in like the mid 2000s. Like it's, alpha, beta version. This is coming up on 20 years old at this point. And so that's one of their big projects for Build 50 is to get everything working in a more modern version of Java so that it doesn't crash as much. But I've been playing this a lot, both at work. It's because I just play it on my laptop. I mean, you could run the game on any potato PC or laptop. The only part of it that might get bogged down is if you try to do battles that are way too big against the AI. But it'll run on just about anything. It's very customizable and configurable. They have a Discord group and then lots of fact pages and detailed instructions on how to get it working with older versions of Windows, or if you have issues with Linux or on Mac. It's very well supported by the community. So if you like Battletech or MechWarrior or any of that stuff, and you've wanted to dive into the deeper, darker end of the pool, this is the best way to do it. If you want to not spend money. I guess you could spend God knows how much money on all of the source books from the last 40 years. And, learn all of this stuff that way. But it's all built in here. Tons of lore. It's great. If you're into this kind of stuff, I highly recommend it. I don't recommend actually the stable build. The dev build, at least 49.8, has got a lot of stuff in it that's not in 48.0. There is a tool. Honestly, I can't believe that version 48 doesn't have the mass training tool. My mercenary company has got 1,400 staff in it that all are being tracked with, individual names and stats. And trying to manage that many without the mass personnel training tools is impossible. You would spend hours spending
Am I
XP.
still running the cafeteria?
Yep. You're running the cafeteria. You're there. I do actually name people after, or people in my mercenary company that are important after other people. You're actually the human, like the head human resources person, but I put in the notes section for your character that you're the head chef, and that's why you're human resources. You're taking care of people by feeding them.
And if you step out of line, your dinner.
Yeah. But anyways, the mass personnel training tool is an example of something that's missing from version 48. That if you want to run a decent sized company, mercenary or otherwise, it's a nightmare because you have to individually click on each person and individually spend XP for each person on their skills. Where with the mass tool, you can just you can narrow it down a little bit, but you can pick. I want all my mech warriors, and I want to train them on their mech piloting or their mech gunnery. Or I want to train them in this bonus skill, like small arms, in case they have to eject and they're fighting on foot. And you can just do that. I have 32 mech warriors. I have a full company of battle mechs ready to go. So, I would have to train, right click on 32 people, scroll down, spend XP, current skills or new skill. It's a pain in the ass. So, it's good times. Good times. I love it. I have many problems. This is one of them. But don't send help. I'm fine. Send snacks. I don't want to be cured of this addiction.
What about a motherfucking therapist?
Right? Send me a motherfucking therapist. All right. With that expletive, let's move on to our first news topic of the night. Let me get this open here. Matt Booty, I still love his name is Booty, dreams of AI QA testers.
Yeah, and this is a little bit of a clickbaity title, but yeah, that's kind of the internet these days. So, Matt Booty is the head of Xbox Game Studios. So, yeah, bigwig. And right. He's not looking to replace the human element. He wants to augment it. And that's where the clickbait comes in. Is that he's talking about some of the strenuous, setting, like jump in place for, 10 minutes and see what happens. That sort of thing. And training AI to do something like that. But instead of having, a few dozen playtesters, having 10,000 copies of the game running on a cloud machine, doing that all at the same time to try to, QA is meant to break the game, so trying to have the AI break the game in interesting ways to be able to test it,
Yeah,
and that's where I found this fascinating is implementation of AI that I hadn't really thought about, of using it as a tool for game testing.
Yeah. I had never until I read the headline, and I get that it's supposed to be clickbaity, but I went, yeah, actually that makes sense. Because if we had, robots are better than people at menial tasks. And honestly, robots are probably better than people at most non-menial tasks too, let's be real. But when it's something that's like, hey, let's run 10, like, like he said, let's run 10,000 versions of this at once and have an AI go through and check all of them out. That's something that would take QA testers, even a full team of them, days, weeks, of crunch to do that. And you might be able to have an AI or a couple of AIs go through it. And even if it does still take them a couple of days, you can just have some humans on the team, cherry pick the ones that are, the most stable or the most broken and investigate why and, recommend changes for that. Like, it can help streamline the workflow. And I think that makes sense. I mean, I could see any company, even Microsoft, who tries to look like the good guy in all of this all the time. But, I could see any
easy
company.
to look like the good guy when you're up against, EA and Bethesda and right? And Ubisoft.
Indeed. But, I could see any company being like, oh, let's get rid of an entire department and replace it with a bot that we don't have to pay. Like, I could see companies doing that. But this is one of those instances where it's like actually, AI or machine learning or whatever could really help streamline this process and make things a little, I don't want to necessarily say easier, but a little healthier on the humans involved in the process.
Yeah, and have you ever done game testing?
No, not to this degree. I have done some, like I've helped out some people working on like college projects or whatever, but that's a whole different ball
I've done
game.
a little bit, not to this degree, but some of it is, figure out a way to get to this platform without doing the intended way, or try to climb, go around the perimeter of the building and see if there's any place that you could climb, right?
Yeah.
And for goal-oriented tasks like that, there may or may not be room for the AI, but for areas where it's a very set pattern that they're wanting to test, maybe have it where the AI does a slight variance, change up the delay between button presses, for example.
Yeah.
But going through the cycle, thousands of times to see what breaks and how, and then generate a report, right? And even better is doing it in off hours where, they wouldn't be able to get QA testing anyway. I do wonder what it will do to the speedrunning community, because some of the stuff that they use is stuff that either was missed or just little side things that they found, like the lowest percent on I can't think of the Zelda title. Skyward Sword, I think it is, actually, now that I think about it. It involves Link staring at a ruby for over a day.
Yeah.
Because it's low percentage, so it's basically whoever can complete the game doing the least amount of things to complete the story. And they found that the auto animation for Link looking at or holding up an item is missing like one frame, so it doesn't completely reset. And because of that, he's moving ever so slightly. But you need to have the game sitting there for hours to make it, actually noticeable. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Speedrunners just, fascinate yet horrify me.
They're a very interesting breed.
And I know that this is, a pipe dream, thinking that this will, make games perfect. There's no way that, a game is going to launch without bugs. Games are far too big and far too complex. Will it limit the amount of Bethesda-level bugs? Possibly. But it also requires the publishers to want to release a product outside of, fuck it, well, maybe fix it later, right?
Yeah.
And even the best QA tools in the world can't solve, the suits, right?
Yep.
Speaking of, speaking of can't fix things, unless you had something else to say.
No, I don't have something else to say. I mean, my main takeaway is Overall, I think this is a good idea. When implemented properly, companies will try to find ways to fuck it up and fuck the people
Mm-hmm.
over that it's designed to help.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Moving on to companies fucking people over.
And fucking
Overwatch.
up.
Yeah. Overwatch fans revolt over Blizzard's plan to lock heroes behind Battle Pass.
Blizzard doing dumb things.
Shitty things, too. Dumb and shitty things.
Yeah, I'm sure this will be the last instance of them doing dumb and shitty things.
Right? They'll learn. They'll never do anything bad again.
Yeah, definitely we won't be talking about Blizzard again later.
Yeah.
So, basically, they're locking heroes behind their treadmill. But, hey, they're locking them behind the free side of the treadmill, so it's all good, right?
Yeah.
Until, let's be perfectly honest. They're testing the waters. If they could get away with this, they're going to put another hero on the paid side. Because that's how it operates, right?
Yep. Push the line. Push the line 4 steps. Controversy. Step back 2, maybe 3. But yeah, Overwatch. The mic is not picking up my sighing. I'm sighing. Blizzard has probably always been a shitty company. Maybe somewhere in the very beginning.
But they had good game design.
They had good game design. And that goes a long way. I try really hard not to ignore the shittiness of companies, even that have great game design now. I try to pay more attention, be more aware, and not support companies that are shitty in general, no matter how good their games might be. But like now they're making bad game design choices too. And I mean, the only reason they're doing it is because they're pretty sure they'll get away with it. And even if they don't now, they're pretty sure they'll be able to get away with it later. I feel very proud of myself that I have never played Overwatch.
I just never really had the feel to need to play it. Because at the time when Overwatch 1 was coming out, I was still playing Team Fortress 2, which is, Overwatch but better.
Yeah.
At least back in the day. And Overwatch 2, well, first of all, they've shifted to free-to-play with microtransactions, which, right?
Yeah.
And here's where the kind of the line in the sand was. So, for this article that kind of got everybody's ire, they have a $40 watch point pack for the upcoming game, which includes access to Overwatch 2's Season 1 Battle Pass, exclusive skins, and a heap of new in-game currency. And they said that the Battle Pass owners automatically receive the new hero, which makes you wonder what happens when that Battle Pass is over, right? Are people that aren't always on the treadmill going to be missing out a hero for who knows how long? Is it going to go into the store for like $10?
There will be one of 3 things that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Either they will miss out on it and it will go back into like a sort of vault, air quotes vault.
Mm-hmm.
And then they will say in the future, "Oh, we're bringing back to Battle Pass the hero." And people will be like, "Yeah, I'll get it this time because I missed him last time." It'll be that. Or they will put them on sale in the store for 10 or 15 or $20 for that individual hero. Or they will save it, it'll go away, and then they'll give it away again in the future as part of some promotion. It's like, "Oh, you missed out on the Battle Pass, but now, for a limited time, if you do X, Y, and Z, you'll get the hero." That's one of the 3 things that they'll do. And nobody will be happy with any of them no matter what. Because you'll have the people who got it the first time through the Battle Pass being like, "Oh, they're selling it by itself now." And they'll pitch a fit, or, that it comes back, they'll pitch a fit, or that it'll be given away as part of some promotion. They'll pitch a fit. Like, fucking fuck. Just fuck. That's how I feel about it. Fuck.
Just in general, right?
Yeah. And I hate that I'm so certain that I'm right. I hate that this isn't speculation, that we've seen this happen time and time again,
Now,
both from developers and by like the hardcore like toxic fans of these games, that I know that that's what the outcome is
there
going
will
to
be
be.
a controversy no matter what after the battle pass ends, depending on how they choose to handle it. I mean, I honestly expect them to have this hero go into the store, assuming, of course, they keep the situation where the new hero is part of the battle pass, and you have to get on the treadmill. And mind you, we have no idea how far into the battle pass this hero is. It could be the last thing. It could be the first thing. Right?
Yeah.
Honestly, expecting it to be more towards the end of the beginning, but that's right.
Yeah.
It's just a shitty situation overall to lock playable characters behind some sort of treadmill or some sort of artificial thing like this. And yes, I am including stuff like buying heroes outright as well as just an artificial gateway to generate profit over compromising your gameplay. Because Dirty Bomb had an issue where you had a set rotation of heroes or operatives or whatever term you want to use. I mean, they're all interchangeable at the end of the day. Player characters or player character classes. And you had a set rotation, and then you bought with the in-game currency access to the individual heroes, operatives, whatever. But they would always have it where the ones that just came out were geared more powerfully until they were brought back down, which caused an influx of people buying into the system to buy the new hero to be able to dominate until they get nerfed down into competitiveness, right?
Yeah.
Which is what I'm expecting here, where they'll artificially inflate the hero that they're releasing with the battle pass to be to such a degree that if you're not grinding to get that hero, or assuming that they're not selling a way to also progress, because that's another thing that battle passes like to do, is sell some way to skip the grind by we'll just sell a rank up item,
Yeah.
and really incentivize people to jump on that that treadmill in to an unhealthy degree, right? Oh, I'm glad I'm not invested in Overwatch, because now I'm really not, right?
Yeah. Same. Glad I'm not, because now I'm really not.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's move into our community corner stuff. We got 2 articles submitted to us over on the Discord.
Yeah, from the last few weeks, because life has been crazy.
It has.
And shitty, and then there's real life, right?
Yeah, and then there's real life. Is it just fantasy? Caught in a landslide. Anyways, so the first one, another NFT game goes bankrupt, which, yay! I'm always happy when that happens.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and this might seem familiar. This is a different one than you might be thinking about. This is a Viking-based one, which it looked like it was from the early 2000s. Did you see any screenshots of this game?
I did not. I haven't seen any screenshots.
Okay, well, go look for them while I'll talk about this a little bit. So the main thing about this is that they went bankrupt because bad management, and they invested in cryptocurrency. Because of course, right? They're in on the NFT scam, so they gotta spend that to try to make more, because right?
Yeah.
And they were invested in Luna, which I'm not familiar with.
I mean, it's one of the cryptocurrencies.
It's one of the cryptocurrencies. They invested $800,000 uh, into Luna and it crashed. And they lost everything, it sounds like. So, right? And
Yep.
this is
So,
on. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead and finish that thought, and then I'll talk.
And this is on top of their executives squandering money, going on big trips to try to find investors instead of a phone call, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, go ahead.
So I joined the Discord server.
Oh God.
So there's a ton of stuff that's deleted. Um, just like quickly scanning through here, but there's
well, they're not allowed to do that. It's part of the blockchain,
right. But then there's basically the announcement that's this article or blog post or whatever this is just copy pasted. Or well, I guess it was written in here and then copy pasted into this article. And then they've got some screenshots of the game and already moving on to their next grift. I mean, they don't say that, but they're already moving on to their next grift and they're announcing it. It's in a non-production ready state, but the demo is playable. There will be bugs. It may be taken down in the future. If you want to invest in this, and it's got some links, head over here.
our NFTs, because of course, right?
Yep. And then there's just people like this. This Discord is a shitstorm of people being like, "Hey, you've been deleting messages." It's like, "So I have." It's like, "Why are you doing that?" And then people are like, "Oh, they're never gonna face their problems." And it's like another admin or something. It's like they're never gonna face their problems. You might as well just leave and go to another server if you're gonna have a negative attitude about this. Like there's a lot of the
Viking ape is worthless now.
There's a lot of the cryptocurrency like grifting, bullshit. But like the crypto, I guess you could say the crypto specific jargon, which it's several months old now. But I would recommend anybody who hasn't seen the Dan Olson line goes up video. It's on YouTube. It's about 2.5 hours long. Covers a ton of stuff about the crypto grift and is still to this point sort of the definitive, like, here's how the crypto grift works. Here's the language that they use. Here's how we got to this point. Here's where it might be going. Like, there's lots of that grifty language in here that I recognize. So, what? Fake it to you make what? Okay, I should stop reading this. It's hurting my brain. All right, I'm gonna leave this Discord group now.
Fake it till you make it does not work for your finances.
All right, has anybody said anything to me after I joined the Discord server? No. That's good. They won't notice me when I'm gone.
So, on top of wasting money by unnecessary business trips, they started a NFT vault because of course they did, which took attention away from production. One of the developers would just disappear and come back later because right.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the CEO. Sorry. Kind of an important person to just disappear and not be contactable, right?
Oh yes. Sorry, that was a yawn.
I mean, it's NFTs. It's all a scam.
It's all a scam.
Unless you're in on the grift, you're getting grifted.
Yep.
And even then, yeah, right.
Yep. Even then, you might still be getting grifted.
Although it is hilarious that, they shut down because the cryptocurrency that they were banking on collapsed before they could cash out, right?
Yeah. Win some, you lose some, I guess. Fuckers.
Well, has there actually, and I'm being serious here, all right? Has there been even a crypto game, let alone an NFT game, that has been anything but just a slog? meant to just generate whatever thing it's supposed to be generating. Because honestly, it just seems like every time I see one of these things, they're meant to be essentially farms. And I don't mean farms as in, the Nintendo Direct, farming sim fixation that they have now. But, just sitting there grinding for whatever currency or NFT or whatever. And no fun. And
Yeah.
isn't that the kind of the point of a game?
I don't know of any crypto game that isn't, or any blockchain-based game that isn't just designed to mine more crypto for people. Because all of them that I have ever seen on mobile or on PC are, they'll say like, oh yeah, we're whatever crypto game, blah, 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 do this, do that, and mine more crypto while you play.
Mm-hmm.
You'll make money while you play. Like all of them. So I don't know. My guess is I don't think so, but I don't know. Blockchain, there might be some ways to use it, but I feel like it's fruit of the poison tree.
But it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to abuse it.
Yeah, I think it's fruit of the poison tree. Like any game or anything that tries to use it in a genuine way that isn't scammy or scummy is going to be side-eyed by everyone because they're so used to that technology being used to be scammy or scummy.
Mm-hmm. And the ones that aren't used to it yet, they're just going to get scammed.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'd like to see one if there is one, but I don't trust that there is.
So, talking about getting scammed.
Yeah. Our last topic of the night, Diablo Immortal whales face orb debt. That's another sentence that's kind of a mouthful to say.
So, basically, the bigwigs of Diablo Immortal have been getting their orbs, which is the in-game currency, through not official means, going through third-party traders, just hackers, or whatever. And Blizzard has gone through and removed said orbs obtained that way.
Yep.
And put some of them in a massive debt where they're negative 2 million orbs. So, and here's kind of the insidious thing is that the orbs at first are not that expensive, but it starts ramping up because you need more and more, and you're getting less and less for each purchase. And you're looking at according to this one person that's 2 million orbs, or sorry, just shy of 2.5 million orbs in debt. $85 for a bundle of 7,200. That's a lot of money to be in debt now. Oh.
All right, hang on. How many orbs are they in debt? Let's do some math.
2,491,023. What's that last 23, right?
Right. 2,400,000.
And while you calculate, I do need to step away for a few minutes.
2,491,000. Okay. 23.
Sorry.
1, 2, 3. Yep. Okay. And then let's divide that by. You close some tabs here. All right. 7,200 orbs. So divide that by 7,200 orbs. And that equals 346 bundles. How much money is that? 100 US dollars. Holy shit. So if you bought every orb bundle, add that at that price, 7,200 orbs for 100 US dollars, that would be $34,597.55. So $34,597.55 to buy that many. I was looking I was looking at buying a new car earlier. I'm wanting to get a truck, a small truck, because I would use it, but I don't need anything big. And even quote unquote small mid-sized trucks like a Ford F-150, Dodge Ram 1500, the Silverado, they've all gotten too big. And Ford makes this really cute little truck called a Maverick now, which is about the size of the mid 2000s, early 2010s Ford Ranger before they took this out of production. I know they make the Ford Ranger again. Excuse me, but it's about the size of the old Ford F-150, and that's just too big. I don't need a truck that big. I just need a truck bed and something I can tow my trailer with better than my old, sad Chrysler Pacifica. And the max level, like the nicest level trim package, and like this really cool, like orange, like burnt orange color, is $33,000 in my area. So I could buy a new truck or Diablo Immortal orbs. So yeah, that's fucking crazy to me. And then now I'm going to be quiet until Rage comes back. That way it's easier to edit.
Okay, I'm back.
Welcome back. I finished my math. So it's $34,597.55.
The
If
55 cents is the killer, huh?
Yep. If they bought that max level pass every single time and they didn't buy any of the smaller packs or didn't grind or whatever, that's how much money they would have spent.
I mean, it's essentially holding the character hostage, right?
Yes. And then I said that in more detail than this, but I was looking at buying a new car, and the car that I was looking at was cheap, like brand spanking new 2022 model vehicle was less money than this.
I mean, damn, right?
Yeah. So, yeah. I don't, I mean, I do. It's either addiction or sort of a desire to be the best at something, and you'll
Like no one ever was.
right. So on the one hand, I do understand where this comes from. Either that, or you just have so much money that you don't give a fuck. In which case, like, fair enough, I guess. But, for most people who would be investing like this, either it's mental illness, they suffer from addictive tendencies, or some other desire or need to prove themselves. And this is one way they feel validated in doing so. And I just want, like, this is more like this much money, 30, I'm just going to say 35 grand for easy reference. That's around the median income for my state. So this is like one person's annual salary.
And mind you, this is a single person's debt.
Yeah.
And while they obviously didn't spend this much because they got it through a third party, and however they got it triggered something on Blizzard's end, that's still a lot of money that they had to sink in. A lot of money.
Yeah, even if they got, let's say they got a 50% discount. Well, that's $17,000. They got a 75% discount. That's still somewhere in the ballpark of 8.5, 9 grand. Like, I've not even spent that much money on my entire Steam library over the last 10, 15 years, And maybe some people would look at that and say that that's crazy, but people spend money on their hobbies over time, But like in 15 years, I've not even spent that much money, and someone has spent that much money within the course of a month or two.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm under that as well. But the thing is that, also sales, right?
Yeah, sales and games that I got for free while I was still reviewing games and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And while I used to try to get free games while we were doing this show, my library's cluttered enough. I don't apply to try to get games anymore. But yeah, it's just fuck Blizzard and capitalism for taking advantage of people this way.
Yeah, so it looks like I read this a little bit closer. The negative thing is triggers whenever somebody refunds a in orb or in game purchase their orbs. So pretty much third parties were using stolen credit cards most likely, or that's the most likely culprit of causing this. So, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think both sides are in the wrong here. One for using a third party site to pump literally millions of orbs into your character. Because if they're selling at cheaper than what Blizzard is, there's something fishy going on.
Yeah.
But also Blizzard demanding tens of thousands of dollars from these people to be able to play their characters, right?
Yeah.
There's no good person here. And also I would say Blizzard on the fact that you could go a year's worth of salary in debt easily on a single character. That just tells me everything I need to know about that game's grind, right?
Yep. It tells me that I don't want anything to do with it.
Which, yeah, right.
Yep.
I'm not sure what else to say about that. So, let's move on to if you wish to contact us, you could do so vglpodcast@gmail.com. Tweet us VGL or drop by the Discord, which you can find a link to that over at vglpodcast.podbean.com.
Yep. Hey Rage, why don't you hit him with them socials?
Yeah, it's getting kind of late, huh?
After midnight.
Yeah, turning into pumpkins. I'm getting fat and orange. I'm looking like Trump.
Oh no. Oh buddy. Oh.
I've been Caffeine Rage. You can find me occasionally tweeting over at Game with CR, which I actually just set out a flurry of a few tweets today for the first time in ages. One calling Lindsey Graham a fucker, but deep down, don't we all call him that?
Lindsey Graham is a fucker. Fucking prick.
I also made a comments about Nintendo because they had like half a dozen different farming and life sim games in their Nintendo Direct today, which I know we didn't talk about, but we're more a PC-centric gaming thing, so, right?
Yeah.
There was some interesting stuff on there, though. Like, 3 remakes of farming sims. One of the old Harvest Moons and one of the old Rune Factories, and I'm blanking on the third one. But hey, you could have a Pokemon tournament now if you give Nintendo more money, right?
I want to be the very best. No one ever was. Anyways. Yeah, did you give me your socials, all of the socials?
Game with CR on Twitter, or you can be my friend Caffeine Rage over on Steam.
Yeah. And I've been Jared. You can find me over on Twitter at JMA4707.
And also motherfucking therapist.
Right, also the motherfucking therapist. I haven't tweeted very much in a hot minute. I should tweet some more. That could be dangerous. You can find me occasionally playing tabletop games over on twitch.tv/runicarts. Currently, I am running the next Vampire the Masquerade campaign that we're playing over there. That happens on Wednesdays. I'm trying to, I am not doing any of the work for this other than running the game. That's all up to them. And I've tried to encourage them to spread the word on the social medias and places. But if you want to check it out, I auto-host it on my Twitch account, so you could also go there. But don't support my Twitch account. It's dead. Just if you want to watch, go over to twitch.tv/runicarts. And then you can also talk to me on Discord or Steam, or, you can send up some smoke signals, or, you could, I guess, dox me and find my information. Please don't do that, but you could. I've got actually some very public-facing profiles because I'm a motherfucking therapist. There's a bunch of websites that I show up on. If it's hey, you want to find a licensed therapist in your area? Here you go.
I'll just show up one day.
I mean, you know where I live. I've given you my address. And if you don't
Yeah,
know my new one or
you,
have it, I'll
yeah,
give it to you again.
You've moved since I've gotten the last one.
I thought I gave you the new one. Well, I'll
No,
have to give you the address.
I'll go to your work and call phone Sarah.
Right, please do. Here you go. Here's
Yeah,
my address.
I'll just be a rude to her.
I mean, that's every day. I'm rude to her every day. There you go. There's my new address. Come find me.
This seems like a trap.
Oh, I mean, is it a trap if you know it's a trap?
I'm going to be making rolls in the basement of the cold, aren't I?
Yeah. If you know I'm going to capture you, then is it really a trap? That's what I have to say about that.
Still a trap. Seems sus.
Definitely sus. Anyways, yeah, that's all my information.
So, scrolling all the way back up to the top of our show notes. Once again, if you wish to contact us, vglpodcast@gmail.com with your letters, voicemails, game-related subjects. Yes, that email address is still open, even though we don't get a lot from it. Or our Twitter. Because, honestly, the Discord's been kind of the hotbed, huh?
It has been, and we appreciate that.
Which you can find a link to that over on our main website, vglpodcast.podbean.com. And if you wish to share the love, you can find us on your podcatcher of choice. Our lovely, lovely patrons have made this madness possible. You can find more over at patreon.com/vglpodcast. Our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Kim McLeod. You can find his work over at incompetech.com. And
as always, as this lovely music starts to roll across my voice, bye-bye now.
See ya.
Bye-bye.